Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast, or welcome if you are new here. Maybe you've clicked on this video because you're feeling a little bit stuck in your healing journey and you are just starting to question whether it's even worth putting in all of this effort with your health and all of the money that you're spending on supplements and organic food and detox practices because you're not really seeing the results of it. But hopefully after today's episode, you'll have some more insight into what your next steps should be. Maybe you do need a change of plan, but it could also be that you are on the right track. You just need to give it time and focus on some of the wins, as small as they might be, because healing can take time, but I have been there personally and I learned so much in my healing journey. And I always think if I would have healed the first year that I got sick, I probably wouldn't have even studied this. I wouldn't have gone on to start my business. I wouldn't be as skilled as a practitioner that I am. So even though I was desperate to heal, and at the time I thought I would have wanted to heal quickly, on reflection now, it was a long journey, but it worked out for my greater good in the grand scheme of things. So if you are brand new here, hello and welcome. My name is Vivian. I'm a naturopathic nutritionist and also a mindset coach, life coach. I do subconscious reprogramming with people too. You'll hear a little bit of that mentioned in today's episode because that is an important one. But yeah, I'm covering today why you might not be seeing results with your health. I have 5 different points and we'll just get into it. I don't want to leave you waiting any longer. So the first one is that you are missing or overlooking the basics. This can happen so commonly when we know so much. We are the most knowledgeable of our friend group about health, and people come to us asking for advice, but we can't seem to figure it out for ourselves. Can you relate to that? Or you are the most health conscious person in your friend group, but you're also the sickest. I did a reel on this that when that was really popular. So you're definitely not alone if that is the case. But sometimes we can get so deep into the minutia that we forget some of the big needle movers. Or it's that common quote, you can't see the wood for the trees when it comes to your own health. And we start exploring heavy metal toxicity and do I need to do IV chelation therapy? Do I need to do this insane diet with all of these supplements when you've massively overlooked the fact that you are so stressed, you're not sleeping well, your blood sugar is all over the place. You could be eating healthy foods, but could still have unstable blood sugar, even if you're eating gluten-free and you're eating whole foods. The makeup of your meals, the amount of carbs versus fat versus protein that you need can differ person to person. And I see these healthy food diaries that my clients upload when we first start working together. And yes, it's healthy food, but it is just a nightmare for things like insulin sensitivity and blood sugar regulation. And there's some very common mistakes that people are making. So before you get to the complex things like your mitochondrial function and amino acid therapy, just really start to look at the foundations, is what I call them. I do have a foundations bundle, which I'll link in the episode show notes, because this is what I want everyone to know, regardless of what condition or symptom that you're dealing with. These are just the foundations for the human body to function optimally. So there's a masterclass on sleep, there's a masterclass on blood sugar and metabolic health, gut health and detox, the subconscious mind. So all the things that I think are non-negotiable for every single person. Each module, I think there's 6 of them in total, is 60 to 90 minutes long, and it covers the science and the education, so the knowledge, so that you understand what you're doing and why it's important, and just really reminding you of some of these foundations. But then it goes into recommendations for each one as well. So please start there if you haven't already. It's only £111, and you also get access to my non-toxic living guide and a healthy grocery list. So it's a really good low-cost option to get you started. And even things like your light exposure, you might have heard of the importance of coming off your screens at night or getting outside during the day, but I cannot stress the importance of this. I know it sounds really basic and it's not this sexy new thing, but these are usually the things that make the biggest difference, is how your sun exposure as a human, but especially as a woman, influences your hormones massively. Women are affected so much by the sun and the moon. And if you're spending all your day indoors, like most people do, working in an office under artificial lighting, sat behind a screen, or when you get home from work, you're the only time that you're getting outside is you going from your door to your car and then from your car to your office, or you just walking in and out to the gym or to the supermarket. That doesn't count as light exposure. We are designed as humans to be outside the majority of the day, and I know that that's not 100% possible in the modern world, but we really need to make a conscious effort. And for me, in summer and spring and pretty much year round, but when it's really cold, when it's pouring with rain, I don't do this. But whenever I can, and I have the luxury of working from home, if you do too, then you could try this if you've got an outdoor space or a balcony, is even just sitting to eat your meals outside. So if it is cold, I'll just put on a bigger jacket or a dressing gown and I'll have my breakfast outside. And it not only are you getting the benefits of the circadian rhythm, the body clock, and how that influences your menstrual cycle and your sleep and your immune system, everything, you're getting vitamin D at the same time, which is a powerful hormone in the body, but it can also help you to have more stable blood sugar. Most people don't know that, but when you eat carbohydrates under the sun and the light from the sun, it helps your body to metabolize them better. So we're just trying to think of these things that have multiple different benefits, but are really low-hanging fruits, are pretty easy, and a lot of them are free for most people to add in. Getting to bed, trying to be asleep before 10 p.m., that is gonna have way more of a difference on the physical body than you going and getting in bed by 11:30. I know it might not seem huge, even if you're getting 8 hours either way in bed, it's the timing that's important. With blood sugar, are you still skipping meals? Are you going all afternoon, about 7 hours from lunch till dinner before you eat anything? You might feel fine, but your blood sugar is going to be crashing. What's going on with your nervous system and your mindset? Are you just in a pessimistic, negative mindset 24/7? Are you surrounded by toxic people and stress? Do you hate your job? These are more challenging things like that when it comes to relationships and work stuff. They're not as easy as taking a supplement or changing your diet, but these can be the things that make the biggest difference for people. I often coach people through these big life changes, like they're thinking of getting a divorce or breaking up with their partner, or they want to quit their job, the corporate 9 to 5, and go traveling the world because it's been on their heart for years and they hate showing up to work every day. That can be the type of stuff that you need to look into, not what the next supplement or the latest and greatest skin serum is. It's that intuitive nudge. So if you aren't already having periods of quiet time in your day where you're going inwards, you're being more introspective, you're listening to your gut, your intuition, your heart. Listen to the recent episode on the heart's intelligence because I share a lot more in that. But I just can't emphasize enough not overlooking the basics. Hydration, how much protein are you eating, what time are you going to bed, what is the quality of your sleep, what is the quality of your relationships, are you having fun in your life? Really simple stuff, but very powerful. So that's number one. Number two contradicts that a little bit, but maybe you're like, yes, I'm absolutely smashing it with all of that stuff. It could be that you're not looking deep enough. You might have scoured the internet and applied all of these non-negotiables, these foundational things. Maybe you've already got the bundle and you've been implementing everything and you're like, yes, I feel maybe slightly better, but it's just not enough and I feel like something's missing. There could be. You don't want to just keep going and just assuming that everything's going to improve. You want to give it time, but you also want to listen to your body and intervene if you're actually not seeing the progress that you expect. You want to give things a few months, but you don't want to also just keep going indefinitely if you're really not seeing any progress. So with not looking deep enough, it could be that you need to explore some of these factors that don't affect everyone. You don't need to look down these avenues if you are already seeing results. And some people with just minor hormone imbalances, they just need to go to bed a bit earlier, eat some more protein, and eat some more fiber, and they're good to go. But if you are one of those people who it just doesn't make sense that you have all of these symptoms and you're doing all the right things, I believe you, and I've been there as well. I was a trained nutritionist. I was eating so clean, but I still had chronic cystic acne. I still had brain fog that felt like I had dementia when I was 23 years old. I had digestive issues that just wouldn't go away. And I was doing gut protocol after gut protocol on the best quality supplements, but they either wouldn't clear or they would come straight back. So to me, that is not normal. And you can explore further using things like functional lab tests and just listen to that feeling that something's not right because there's always an answer for your symptoms. It sometimes isn't super straightforward to get there, and sometimes it's a bit of trial and error and it's ruling things out. Like I went down this path and that didn't make a difference, or it didn't work, or my gut's calling me towards exploring this a little bit more, or this practitioner. You do want to listen to that and listen to the little nudges as well that you're getting. That's your body and your intuition and your subconscious speaking to you. But some of the things that I would consider would be your dental health, your oral health. And this isn't my area of expertise, but I've recently had a client as well who had chronic migraines and some other symptoms like fatigue. We did figure out that she had some mold exposure, and a sluggish thyroid, mineral imbalances, and we've done a lot of work with her. And some of her symptoms have improved quite a lot, but there was this lingering issue with headaches. And then I mentioned, even though I ask every new client about the dental health history, she didn't really have much to share. There wasn't any major symptoms or bleeding gums or anything like that, but she went to see a holistic or biological dentist, which is what I would recommend, and they said, and she had another appointment with someone else just as a backup and a second opinion, and they both said she needed to have all of her wisdom teeth out because they were infected, which is insane because she didn't think that she had symptoms, but after they've been removed, she messaged me. She said, "Oh, my gums have been a little less sensitive, or this weird taste in my mouth that I was having that I thought was my water bottle was actually some sort of decay and infection in my mouth." And it's very early days since she's had this procedure, so who knows what's going to come of that. And some other things have been uncovered as well. But yeah, oral health is huge, especially with anything neurologically. Think of how close your mouth is to your brain, but it's also such a absorptive area. Anything that's in there is going to go straight into the bloodstream and can bypass the digestive system and our immune system seeing it and flagging it as being a problem. So it's can be linked to fertility issues and cardiovascular stuff and just anything that's stubborn and chronic. I have people go to see a holistic or biological dentist. They can use tools like cone beam scans, they're called, which can look deeper into the jaw, any cavitations, and they're just going to go way deeper than a regular conventionally trained dentist would, similar to a regular doctor versus a functional medicine or a naturopathic doctor. There's a big difference. Other things that I would consider would be chronic infections. And just because you've worked on your gut before, or you've done an anti-candida protocol, you've done a parasite cleanse, that doesn't mean to say that you've addressed the problem. There's so many nuances with this type of stuff. Did you do the protocols for long enough? Were you using strong enough ingredients and antimicrobials? Did you do preparation work so that your body was actually in a good state to cleanse of these pathogens? Have you looked at it holistically? Are you looking at why this happened in the first place? Why did you get such a severe candida overgrowth? what's going on with the rest of your body, what's going on with your hormone health and your energy body. All of that needs to be explored. So it can be that you revisit things multiple times, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I've been on so many gut protocols in my life, and a lot of them were a bit of a waste because I just didn't really know what I was doing. I was working with someone else early on, and they were just not doing it comprehensively enough. I wasn't taking binders. I didn't know at the time I had histamine and mast cell issues, so a lot of the products that I was taking were triggering that and making me worse. I didn't know at the time that I was living in mold. That would be another thing to consider is mold toxicity. It's not a factor for everyone, but it is a big deal and it can really block your healing from happening. And there are some risk factors. So if your home is older, but that doesn't rule out newer builds either. Any place can have a water leak, an incident burst pipe, and develop mold. But if there's any visible signs of mold or other people in the home are also symptomatic, it doesn't have to be in the same way, but in other ways. If there's a musty smell in there, if you feel better when you're away from home, this could be the workplace as well, just anywhere you're spending a significant amount of your time usually is to blame. So mold is something that can be tested, mycotoxins, and what I was just saying about parasites. There's not an amazing test out there, but sometimes they can show up on the stool test that I use, which is a GI map. Candida, I prefer to do organic acid urine testing. So we can look at things like that. There are viral panels that you can do as well if you suspect Epstein-Barr virus, or cytomegalovirus can be another latent, stubborn stealth infection they're called. This just means that they can go undetected quite commonly, and they might not be something that your traditionally trained doctor would be able to find on a blood test, but it doesn't mean that they're not there. They're really intelligent. They want to survive and they want to go undetected. And they can, if they've been there for a while, start to hide behind biofilms. So this is a bit of a tangent, but there might be some deeper work that you need to do on biofilm disruption to help you actually get to the infection a little bit better. And remember with infections and these pathogens that an antimicrobial protocol might be needed. You do sometimes have to go in and reduce the sugar and reduce the food source and kill off, so to speak, the overgrowth and use herbs to bring down those levels of infection. But at the same time, you have to make sure that your own immune system is supported and is healthy and is coming back online. Because otherwise, long term, that is what your immune system's meant for. Your immune system is meant to help your body keep infections in check. So yes, we do need to lower the infection load, but at the same time, simultaneously, we want to be supporting the immune system in that very holistic way. What is going on with the rest of the gut? Is there enough beneficial bacteria? Is the person eating nourishing foods, or are they eating a lot of inflammatory foods in their diet? Are they eating in a stressed state, or are they stressed out and in that sympathetic mode 24/7? That is going to mean that the gut can't function, and the gut holds 70% of our immune system. And other things like that you could test at this stage where you're just not seeing the results, I would probably look at something like a Dutch test to see your cortisol output and what is going on with that. Cortisol is involved in the healing process. In the early stages, your cortisol can go higher, and that can be anti-inflammatory for a period of time. But if it's left unaddressed and that high cortisol stays elevated for a long period of time, it can start to become damaging. And there are things that you can do to balance your cortisol either way if you're not really sure what's going on. You can't just look at your symptoms, because I've had clients who think they have low cortisol because they have fatigue and they have anxiety and joint pain and a weak immune system, but then we test and they actually have super high cortisol. So if we would have just gone based off what they thought and start to boost the cortisol, it's just going to make it worse. Or the opposite can be true. They're convinced they have high cortisol because they feel stressed and they have a high stress job, but then we test, it's actually that they have rock bottom cortisol, and us trying to lower it even further with certain products is going to make the whole situation worse. So there's things that can help to regulate cortisol, things like adaptogenic herbs. They can balance you out either way. Stress management, blood sugar regulation, that's going to help if you're not really sure what you're doing. But test, don't guess is my motto, especially in these cases where you're months or years in and you're really just getting stuck and you're just wasting money on throwing spaghetti at the wall and to see what sticks. If you're brand new to the health and wellness world and you haven't yet just cleaned up your diet and got your sleep schedule on track and you've minimized as much toxin exposure as possible with your skincare products, personal care products, cleaning products in the home, please start there. But I'm often not working with that type of person. They're already doing all the right things and they just need deeper answers. So some of my favorite tests would be a GI map stool test, an organic acid urine test, mycotoxin panel. You can also do heavy metal profiles. There's some heavy metals shown on the HTMA, the mineral test that I do. That's another one that could be helpful at this stage because I've had clients before with diagnosed chronic fatigue. They've been to the top specialists in London. They've even traveled to the US for mitochondrial testing and all of these expensive treatments. But we've done a mineral test, which is one of the cheapest tests that I offer. And we just find that they have rock bottom minerals, and no one's looked at that. Everyone's just going too deep into the intense complicated stuff, and they're just missing the fact that the sodium and potassium is rock bottom, and the body can't produce cellular energy when that is happening. So I hope this gives you a little bit more direction. Yeah, you could maybe not be looking deep enough. I just want to check, are you addressing the healing foundations? Not sure what I mean? Well, these are the important factors that I believe that you need to address in order to be in optimal health and overcome your stubborn health issues and symptoms, whether that's chronic digestive issues, acne, hair loss, period problems, weight gain, anxiety, fatigue. I could go on. Because I want as many of you as possible to have this life-changing information, I've bundled together 6 of my juiciest and info-packed masterclasses priced at just £111. Not only are you getting these recordings, which are between 60 and 90 minutes long each, on the following subjects: the power of the subconscious mind, stress, trauma, and the nervous system, supporting your female menstrual cycle, mastering your metabolism, optimizing sleep, gut health and detox. You're also going to receive my healthy groceries shopping list and my favorite non-toxic products guide, which are both usually reserved for my one-to-one clients. Whether you're brand new to the holistic healing world or you've been trying to work on things for a while but feel stuck, I can guarantee there's something within this content that will help you to understand your next steps and what you're missing. Sometimes it's something so foundational that's being overlooked. Get instant access to the Foundations bundle today for just £111 by clicking the link in the episode show notes, and I can't wait to hear about what you've learned. Grab your pen and paper to make notes and get started today. The third one does tie into this, is that you're not addressing subconscious or energetic blocks. Things like childhood trauma, things like your shadow self, things like suppressed shame or suppressed anger or toxic relationships or attachment styles that you've been in since childhood. This can be part of that not looking deep enough, or you're not looking in the right places. You're looking more at the physical body, whereas that isn't everything. There is the emotional, energetic body too. And if I've learned anything in the past few years, because that was me for the majority of my career, it was just everything's physical health and nutrition. And then it really opened up my eyes when I was personally struggling and I was finding that a subset of clients were also not getting the results that they should be. And it was those people who did need to have the big life transitions. They needed to cut out that person in their life. They needed to switch careers. They needed to do deep somatic healing on childhood trauma, sexual trauma, their relationship with their mother, their relationship to their self and their intuition and their inner child. All of this stuff is really powerful and can be an absolute game changer for a lot of people. So looking into that, looking into somatic work, somatic therapies, looking into things like meditation, even Reiki, energy work, hypnosis, subconscious reprogramming. If you're inside my world with the one-to-one coaching, you'll get access to the Mind Body Reset Library. It was formerly known as the Hormone Reset Library. In that, there are hypnosis, EFT tapping tracks, and so many more to come. There's 30 hours of content in there on all sorts of different things. And speaking of that foundations bundle, you do get access to that within this program as well. So everything's just all my best work in one place, and it is talking about the mind and the body. So journal prompts, videos on the placebo effects and meditation and all sorts of things. But this is my latest obsession, and I've seen major changes to my own life from going deeper into the more energetic, esoteric realm. The instead of the 3D physical world, it's the 5D quantum field. I've done a lot of episodes since the beginning of the year here on the podcast, on the Viva Natural Health podcast. Joe Dispenza's work was a big influence into why I got into this. He talks about the mind-body healing connection, and he says that you could be eating the best diet in the world, but if you don't believe that you're going to heal, or you have just these looping thoughts and patterns on repeat, that you're always identified as the sick person, you're the sick friend, you're the friend with chronic illness, you're the friend who has endometriosis and chronic pain, and you're the sensitive soul who just can't live a normal life. If you resonate with any of those things, and that's an extreme version, sometimes it's just less obvious than that, but if you had a little twinge then, like a little thing in your stomach when I said any of those things, maybe it triggered you a little bit, then that can be a sign that you need to look deeper. We want to get to the point where we believe and have faith that our body can heal. And it can take time. It can take time for these energetic shifts to materialize in front of us. But if we can have, no doubt in our mind that our body is going to heal, it's inevitable, that is the type of energy and state that we need to be in. There'll be moments where the doubt comes in, the limiting beliefs creep in, but if you can return yourself, maybe that's you doing a meditation track or some EFT tapping, that usually helps me just to get you back in that state. If you can live in that state the majority of the time, it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be happy rainbows and sunshines always, but it is your frequency, and your energetic vibration. And what your frequency is what you frequently are going to see. Number 4 is that you are improving. You are having changes, you are getting better, you are healing, but you aren't focusing on that. Just because some of your symptoms are still lingering, it doesn't mean that you're not on the right path, you're heading in the right direction. With my clients, this is why I make sure that I track certain symptoms, because they could come to me at the first session and maybe they've got 50 symptoms. We know that the body heals as a whole and everything's interconnected. So instead of tracking every single symptom, I ask them to choose the 3 biggest ones from different body systems. So it might be one digestive, one hormonal, one energy or mood related. So I acknowledge that they have a lot more than that, but I know if those symptoms that we're tracking are heading in the right direction across the 6 months initial package, then the other ones are not too far behind or will be improving at the same time. And it's happened where these 3 are the biggest symptoms, these are the ultimate goals, and they kind of forget about all of the other smaller symptoms that they initially wrote down on their intake form. So I asked them a few months in about the huge cyst that they were getting on their back every few months. I'm like, oh yeah, that's gone now. But I still haven't lost any weight. And then I'll be like, okay, but how's your period pain now? Like, oh, actually, I don't really get pain anymore, but it's still not completely regular, and I'm still not 100% happy with that. I'm like, okay. And then what about your skin? You used to have really bad acne all over your chest and your shoulders. How's that been? And they're like, yeah, my chest is clear, but my forehead's still really breaking out. Can you see how I completely understand where they're coming from? And I've been there too with all of this, so can completely relate. But we need to remind ourselves that healing takes time. If we've had imbalances for years, sometimes decades in there, and they might have been particularly bad in the past couple of years, but there's been imbalances and things not right under the surface for a long, long time. And healing can, things can improve within a few weeks. Sometimes it's not like you have to wait for months and months to even see any progress. But if you've had a lot of issues for 5 years and you've been quite imbalanced in terms of hormone health and you've had a lot of stress going on and you've been following the plan but not 100% because I don't expect you to be completely following it to the T every single day. Life can get in the way sometimes, but we have to be patient with our body and putting this extra pressure on ourselves with a timeline. I need to be healed by this, and nothing's getting better. If you're focusing on nothing getting better, things are going to slow down and you're not really going to see the wins. Whereas if you can focus on what is going right, what improvements you have had, and comparing yourself to 6 months ago or a year ago, even better, what has changed since then? And it is often going to be small progress. And yeah, focus on what you just keep coming back to what you do want, what is going well, what you are happy with, and you will start to see more of that. If you aren't already tracking your symptoms, I would recommend if you're in this place to work with a practitioner. It's just going to make everything so much easier and straightforward and more structured for you. But if you're not already tracking your symptoms in some way with your skin, it doesn't have to be you taking photos of your skin every day or your bloated belly every day, but at least once a month or with weight. I would prefer you to do pictures and measurements as opposed to a weight on the scale because muscle mass and inflammation and things can play a role, water weight. So how you look and how you feel is more important. Or track your menstrual cycle. Use an app to track when your cycle comes, how you're feeling pre-period, what day your ovulation is on, what's happening with your cervical mucus. Do you feel healthy and energized the majority of the month? And now it's just a few days of PMS before your cycle, whereas before it was a whole 2 weeks. Really start to write things down and don't be obsessive with it, but this is gonna give you some actionable data to go off. And this is also where lab tests can come in. With my clients, we usually do some labs to begin with in the first month or so, and then it's really recommended a lot of the time to do some retest. If there were some big imbalances, if we spotted a parasite on that first stool test, if there was major mineral imbalances on the first mineral test and your thyroid was completely off and your vitamin D was rock bottom, I we can monitor progress with symptom improvements, but seeing on paper lab results 6 months later can be really, really helpful because it can motivate you if you don't feel like you're seeing progress because you'll see, oh yeah, this has been fixed now. You no longer have this problem. Maybe this thing's popped up and I need to do a little bit of treatment on that. But just to be able to see what's going on inside. Because when we're with ourselves every day, we often don't see the changes that someone else would see externally when we haven't seen them for 6 months. They're like, oh, you've lost weight and your skin looks so much brighter, your eyes look clearer, you look so much happier. But when we're seeing ourselves in the mirror every day and we're also focused on our health not being 100% where we want it to be, that's why we miss the results. And then with lab tests, if you are feeling good and you do a laboratory test, maybe you do still spot something a little bit off that needs a tiny bit more work, and that could save you down the line if that was left unaddressed. It can slowly start to creep back. So retests, they are going to be an extra cost, but they can be really important just to show you that you are on the right track and just to rule things in, rule things out. But you probably are improving. I know you might not be 100% where you want to be right now, but can you right now list 5 things that you have seen improvements with over the past 6 months? Pause this episode and list them out for yourself because there are going to be some things. Even if it's you feel a little bit more confident to go to the gym and your workouts are 10 minutes longer than they used to be, or your symptoms before your period are only happening now for 2 days instead of 5 days. That is a success, in my opinion. And then, last but not least, the final reason that you're probably not seeing results with your health and your symptoms is that you're trying to DIY your health. You're trying to do it all alone. You are scouring the internet. You're deep into a Reddit thread. You're in the YouTube world just searching, 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 saving 1,000,001 videos to come back to, signing up for all of these free things. And not only energetically is that putting out there to the universe that you don't prioritize yourself and your health and investing in yourself, and you're trying to do it on the cheap. And I understand, I've been there too. I shared something on my stories the other day when I think I was probably still studying, but on Instagram, I was following people and I was messaging practitioners trying to get some advice and get some answers like people do for me now. I don't like giving advice over Instagram DM because of this reason that I'm going to share, but it's also not that ethical. And I don't know everything that I need to know about your health, but this practitioner was talking about blood sugar and carbohydrates. And I, at the time, was eating a low carb diet because I thought I felt better. I didn't feel great, but I felt better than eating higher carb. And it was helping to manage certain symptoms. But she was talking about how we need carbs to fuel ourselves and that we should be eating more carbs as women, which I agree that carbs are important, but at the time I was severely insulin resistant. I was living in mold. I was very inflamed and overweight. And I just started to eat a bit more carbs, like an extra apple as an add-on to my breakfast, like tiny, all healthy carbs, whole food carbs. And for that week, I was absolutely ravenous. I even noticed my belly fat was increasing after 1 week, which is insane. But within an hour of eating, I would be hungry again. And I was very confused. And my gut reaction was that I was insulin resistant and my blood sugar was not liking this. But I messaged this practitioner and I said, I'm just craving carbs so much when I've started to increase them. And she just said something like really flippant, and she didn't ask any more questions, and I can see where she was coming in from, but she said, I think that tells me your body needs more carbs. And because I was training to be a practitioner at the time and I was slightly more in touch with my body than someone else was, I just didn't think that that was right and it didn't feel true for me. But I can imagine the average person would just take that and run with it. Like, okay, this must be normal. This must calm down after a while. But it wouldn't have done for me because I was just adding more sugar and more glucose into a system that wasn't processing it well. It wasn't the carb that was the problem, it wasn't the apple, it was my body, and it wasn't the right time for me to build up those carbs. Now I can eat them and my tolerance is way better, but this is the potential danger of trying to do it all on your own and trying to just find answers for yourself or asking ChatGPT to create a gut healing plan for you. It can be pretty dangerous, I'm not gonna lie. So I just want you to get the results, and I can't tell you how many times people have literally just signed up to work with me. We haven't even had the first session and they already start to feel better. They message me, I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder because finally I just feel like someone is in this with me. Someone is going to guide me and support me and hold my hand for the next 6 months. And that has already calmed my nervous system. They've gone from feeling so anxious and so fearful and so much in scarcity, so alone and desperate, to a bit of surrender, a bit of detachment. Like, I'm just going to let some of this go and I'm going to ask for help, the help that I know that I deserve, but I've been too scared for. Some people are just they want to do everything on their own. They want to just not rely on anyone else, but if you're not trained in this, how I don't even know how you expect to know what you're doing. There's so many factors that go into it and how everything's so intricately connected and just getting access to the best lab tests out there, the best supplements. I know it's an investment, but you're gonna save money and time and stress in the long run for doing this. And that energetic decision to work with a practitioner is going to speed up your results even more because you're showing that you are deserving of this. You're really serious about change. So if that is you, if you are like, okay, I'm done, I have done the basics, which I do recommend. There's no point coming to me if you're still eating McDonald's every week and you're smoking cigarettes and binge drinking alcohol. Please clean that up first because it's just going to be me telling you to address that and then we'll get onto the deeper stuff. But do the basics, but don't then try to keep going. Because imagine if it was your car or your child's health, you would be you would be so much more likely to get the best practitioner if your child was sick. You'd want them to have the answers and that you'd do anything for them. Why not yourself? Or if your car was faulty and the engine light was coming on the dashboard, you wouldn't get on YouTube and try to figure out how to fix it yourself unless you're a mechanic. You would take it to the garage and you would just have to pay what they're charging. If there's a problem, you need to fix it. But you'll know then that you're in safe hands and it's going to be addressed. It might take some time, so you want to get into the same mindset with your health. If you're wanting to work together, if you're wanting to really start seeing the results with your health and have someone to guide you through the protocols who will understand if you are actually seeing results, but you're just moving a little bit slowly at times, or just to hold you accountable to the plan of action, to make sure that you're not missing the foundations, but also we can go deeper when necessary and we can look into these energetic blocks as well, the subconscious blocks. That was one of the points that is really important. Getting to that state where you trust and believe in your body, you know that healing is inevitable, you're working with your body rather than against it, then my signature 6-month package, Reprogram, the Restoring Energy program, would be a perfect fit for you. And I am now enrolling for new clients across the summer and would love to have you involved. It is a 6-month program, so that's going to take us to the end of 2025. I didn't even know what year we were on then. It's going to take you into 2026 and beyond, feeling so much better. You can shift massively with your knowledge and your understanding and your results in that period of time. Not to say that you are necessarily going to be 100% healed at that point, because we're not aiming for perfection anyway, but I can promise that you're going to feel so supported and you're going to go into these deeper areas that not every practitioner is going to take you. I don't take everyone on as a client even. So if I don't feel like it would be a good fit, then I will refer you on to someone else. But I offer a free 30-minute enrollment call if you do want to chat further about your situation. I want you to tell me what you've tried already, who you've worked with, how you're feeling, what your goals are. And then if I do feel like I can help you, we'll talk about what that would look like. And yeah, we'd love to support you. You can check out all of the details, what's included. Reminder about that mind body reset. That is so valuable. You'll get lifetime access to that. To my client community, one-to-one sessions, personalized recommendations for you. And you can find out more about all the details, what's included, plus the payment plan options. There is a new payment plan option for July onwards as well. So you can see that on the website. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will see you back here next week. The episode that we're going to be doing is what people don't tell you about the healing journey. So very fitting from today, and I'm really just sharing my wisdom from my 10 years of health struggles that I went on. And I just hope it helps at least one of you out there. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, leave a rating and review, and send this to someone who also might be struggling with their health and just needs some reminders.